Hello, everybody. We are going to take a look today at Chapter 6. We are going to study about using credit. We're going to look at different kinds of credit cards, how to calculate finance charges, how to assess what the most appropriate credit card is for your needs, and what else are we going to look at? Why you should use credit, why you should not use credit, how important it is to have a credit rating called a FICO score. So we're going to take a look at all of those different items. So the first thing, there's obviously nothing on the screen, that I wanted to go through is what are the appropriate uses of credit? So I'd like you to just take a second, maybe even turn off the tape and write down 2, 3, possibly 4 reasons why you think using credit when that's a positive thing. So go ahead, turn off the tape and write that down. And I'll meet you back here. Okay, so the appropriate uses for credit is when you're making a large purchase whereby you do not have the capacity to pay cash for it, obviously like a car or a house or a rental property or something like that. It's also appropriate to use in the time of emergencies. It's also perfectly acceptable to use credit for investment purposes, as I said, like a rental or a piece of land or starting a business, something that's going to have long-term ramifications. And then also oftentimes we use credit for convenience, right? We just slide a credit card, which is great if you're paying off your balance every month. Conversely, take a second, when is it inappropriate to use credit? So shut down the tape and just think for a couple minutes, if you would, please, when you think it's not a good idea to use credit. Okay, so the reasons that we shouldn't use credit or the inappropriate uses of credit is kind of down here, this basic rule of thumb. The payments are outliving the product. So a classic example is you go out to dinner and then you pay it off, over the next 3 months. Obviously, the payment schedule is outliving the product. Same with disposable items like, pet food and groceries and gas and things like that. So short-term needs that you're making long-term payments on, that's never a good use of credit. Secondly, you should not be using credit if you can only make the minimum payments. And we're going to be talking about, there's actually not 4 bullets here. We're going to be talking about minimum payments in a little bit. So take a look at what this is. So these calculations, a minimum payment is when the credit card company tells you, here, you have a $6,000 balance, but you only need to pay $180. And I'm like, wow, great, perfect. Okay. Usually they're based on a 3% payment. Most credit cards will say you either need to make a minimum payment of 2% or 3% of the outstanding balance. And these examples are based on a 15% APR, annual percentage rate. So if you're only making the minimum payments on a $5,000 balance, it's going to take you 16.4 years to repay, and it's going to cost you another $3,400 in interest. So what I'd like you to do over here, I'm going to do one for you, and then I'd like you to do the other ones. What percentage of the original balance are you paying in interest? So in this example, if I'm paying $3,434 on an original balance of $5,000, divide the $3,434 by 5,000. So you'll need to grab your calculators. I am paying an astounding 68.7% interest on that $5,000 over 16 years. Okay, so divided by 16 years, that turns out, it's just, that's an outrageous amount. So you can see here, it's about 67%, here it's about 50%. But the point is, how many years does it take you to repay it? You don't want to take that long to repay $1,000, 8 years. Okay, how do you establish credit? So many of you probably, as you're just starting into your individual financial world, do not have a credit card or do not have a credit score or a credit history. with both of my kids, their first car loans, I put in their name and then I co-signed it so that they were able to start to establish credit. So you build good credit history, obviously by not getting into credit trouble. In other words, getting overextended. You have to always obviously make your payments on time. And if there's something going on that you can't, I'm sick or I lost my job or whatever's happening and you need to miss a payment or you need to make less than a minimum payment once, you just call them, be truthful. They're people, they want their money, so they're going to work with you. But if you just pretend like it's not happening, you can really impinge your credit score. So actions to take, and I really, really, really strongly recommend this. If you've never had a credit card, it is a really good idea to just get, and there's credit cards that are geared specifically towards students with really low maximum balances. Get a credit card, and anything you buy every month. I fill my tank up once a month for $65. I buy my pet food once a month for $35. So those are my two expenditures I have every month, right? So I still live at home and I eat at home. So that $100 a month goes on my little credit card. I pay that off every month because it's in my cash flow budget. They're not unexpected expenses. And right there and then I'm establishing a credit score. This will serve you well as you move into the future and try and buy your first car, your first home, anything like that. So the 5 C's of credit, your obviously character, your business ethics align with the credit card. So I've got the ability to pay it. I've got the wherewithal to pay it. I've got the motivation to pay it. That's capacity. Collateral, oftentimes with different, not so much credit cards, but other types of credit, the grantor will require you to have some sort of asset that you can show them that they can have if you don't make the payments. It's called collateral. So like when I buy a car on credit, the car is the collateral. If I don't make payments, they just come and take it. If I don't make my mortgage payments, they come and foreclose on my house. So oftentimes large loans will have some sort of collateral. And I'm not quite sure what these two are referring to, but these are called the 5 C's of credit. Capital, you've got to have the ability to repay it. Condition is what's happening economically. Like right now we're in a period of inflation, so obviously interest rates are higher. Okay, this is really important. We're going to be working with this a lot. How much credit can you stand? In other words, how much credit can you safely take on? That's called your debt safety ratio. We're going to be doing a lot of calculations around this. The book suggests that your debt safety ratio is in an okay margin if it's less than 20%. I honestly don't concur. I think in my personal experience that your debt ratio, safety ratio should be closer to 10 to 15%. And here's the calculation for it. I'm going to add up all my monthly payments, right? My student loan payment, my car payment, my credit card payment, all my consumer credit payments, not my rent or my utility bills, but anything that's on credit, right? Except for my mortgage. And I'm going to divide it by my take home pay. I make $20 an hour. I don't take that home. I only bring home $15 an hour of it. So I'm going to divide it by my take home pay. That number, the book suggests you shouldn't be higher than 20%. I suggest you shouldn't be higher than 10 to 15. So let's do an example of this. And I've got a worksheet on Moodle. And I think it's also linked here. It's called Worksheet 6.1. It's in your book as well. You guys don't have the same page numbers as me, so I guess it doesn't matter. And for me, it's on page 232. It's in chapter 6. At any rate, so here's the situation. Helly has the following payments. She's got a car payment every year or every month for $262.39. She's got a United credit card and her minimum payment there is $85. We're certainly hoping she's paying more than that because we just looked at minimum payments, but for the purposes of this calculation, you put in minimum payments. She's got a retail credit card at REI, $40 a month. And then she pays the DOE, the Department of Education, $111 a month on her student loan. And her gross pay per month is $21,852, and she pays taxes of 21%. So what our goal here is to calculate her debt safety ratio. So let's open up the worksheet. Maybe you should jot down these numbers really quick. So car payment, credit card, minimum. So shut off the tape, write down the facts, and I'm going to bring up the worksheet. And we're gonna not want her to have a ratio higher than 15%, even though the book says 20. Okay, so here's my debt safety ratio sheet. So it looks a little bit more daunting than it is. So let's start. Does she have an auto loan? Yes. So you should bring this up. You can, if you can print it, that would be best. Shut off the tape and print it and fill it in. That would for sure be best. Otherwise, let's just type in it. And then key in her monthly payment. She does have a student loan payment. And it looks like she's got 2 credit cards. So fill those in and then total up her monthly payments. Shut off the tape. Do that. Okay, so hopefully you finished that, and her payments, let me just check my numbers one more time, are $498.39 a month. What we're trying to figure out is what percentage of her take-home pay is that, and we want to get it to 15%. So her source of income is her paycheck, and she might have other things like her roommate gives her $200 a month, or she's got a second job, she's a bartender on Saturday nights or whatever. Now, you've got to figure out her paycheck. We saw that her gross pay was $2,118.52, but 21% of that goes to taxes. So figure out her monthly take-home pay with that number. You've got to take the taxes out of it. So shut off the tape and calculate that. Okay. So her taxes ate up that much of her paycheck. So she brings home $1,673. So these are the numbers we're going to use in the calculation. So take total monthly payments divided by total monthly take-home pay, and then we're converting it to a percentage. So divide by 100 and get me what percent she's at, please. So $498.39 divided by 1673.63, converting it to a percentage. So wow, she is way, way, way over where she needs to be. Okay, they're almost 30% of her take-home pay is going to consumer credit. That is a big problem. So the next thing we want to enter is what we want her new safety ratio to be. And I'm going to tell you this. Again, the book says 20%. I'm saying 10 to 15. Let's enter 15. There's two ways she can get in sync. One is she needs to make more money. The second is she needs to drop her payments. So let's calculate the options, and then we're going to make a recommendation. So the first one is if she sticks with this income, $1,673.63, times the 15%, what would her payments need to be no more than? So write in her monthly take-home pay now. We know what that is. And we want to get her to 15%. So what would her payments need to be? And how much would they need to drop from their current status to get there? So this is assuming no change in income. So her payments, if her income doesn't change, her payments should not be much more than $251.04. They're $498.39. We need to get her to $251.04. How much would her payments need to drop a month? So the difference . Oh, where did it go? So $498.39, what they're at now, what they'd have to be in compliance with the 15%, $247.35. All right, let's do the second one and then we'll make a recommendation. Or if she could raise her income to get so that this is no more than 15% of her take-home pay. So we want to take the monthly payments she's got now, that 498 number, and divide it by the 15% to see what her take-home pay would need to get to. So if her 498.39 was no more than 15%, her take-home pay would need to be a whole bunch more than it is now. Okay. Keep the same payments, no more than 15%. That would, my take-home pay would need to raise up to here. How much then would my take-home pay have to rise over the current number? And it would dang near have to double. So really, her options are twofold to get her situation into appropriate parameters. She would need to drop her payments by $247.35 a month, or pretty much double her income. Well, most of us don't have the capacity to go out and double our income. She might be able to get a second job and add something to the take-home number, or get a different job or negotiate a raise. But I mean, I think we could all concur she's going to be pretty hard pressed to double her income. Payments dropping by $247.35. Here are her 4 payments. It's kind of easy to see, to be honest, that she can't afford a car. Okay. These payments aren't going to go away. Your student loan's not going to disappear. And until the REI and the United credit cards are paid off, those aren't going to go away unless you're doing something more drastic like declaring bankruptcy. So as far as her situation, honestly, it is basically alleviating the car payment. Okay, so this is debt safety ratio, critical concept for this chapter. So there's basically, there's credit cards, and then there's other, they're called open accounts, open account credit, right? So these are kinds of credits that an organization will say to you, here you go, we'll extend you credit, but up to this amount, up to $2 grand, up to 10 grand, up to 7,500. Okay. And you can either do it with a financial institution, like you have, a Merrill Lynch credit card, or you have a Capital One credit card, or you can have a retailer card like REI or Dillard's or Exxon, right? And then you get a monthly credit statement, and you have, here's the kicker, you pay your balance in full each month, you have no interest. So that's something to keep in mind as you move forward thinking about credit cards. I'm going to leave it here. Please go ahead and read the chapter. So far we've talked through section 6-2A. So I'd like you to go ahead and read about bank credit cards, the kinds of fees they have, the Credit Card Act of 2009, special bank cards, and we will pick back up on the next lecture. Thank you very much, and I hope that you enjoyed this introduction. Bye.